And we're good to go.
Sorry, do you see me? Ah, okay, now. Okay. Laura, I can start? Ah, okay, sorry. Okay, as yesterday, I show you a short presentation of our organization. But this day I will be less technical with our presentation, because the topic is how we can have a social inclusion in our job, in our space, especially with local people. When I say local, I think about people who live near our town, near our region. We are an organization that spent its time on the research about local design and art craft work, especially about Puglia country. And we have as a mission the possibility to involve people in this our research, and if you have a minute, I start with our presentation. Just a moment. I'm sharing my display. Okay. Sorry, Laura, I can't share my screen. It's possible?
Yeah, I forgot to put the setting on just a bit.
Because I have a screen in which there is.
You want to try now?
Just a moment. Okay, I think yes. Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So this is our space, our logotype created by us, linked to the fact that we are designer, architects, so graphics and design is one of our typical topics. Okay. Shiski Concept Space is a cultural space born in 2018 with the idea to promote the world of design and art craft work more accessible to people. When I say people, I think about not only who works in this sector, but also all people that has this kind of passion, because we think everyone can give us his part of experience about this topic. So we try to create opportunities for meetings and collaboration between various subjects, various players of the design sector. And we like to say that this is a space where the unexpressed idea can have a space, can become real, because we meet, we link the design aspect with the creation, the practice aspect to create a design object or a little space. So we try also to give after more visibility to this object created and to people, the designers that think this object and after create. In fact, this is a space divided in two parts. We have a laboratory and we have a showing room. We try to do a knowledge networking between students, young designer, artisans, self-producer, and creatives in general. We don't have limit of age for this. We made in past also workshop with children's. Or with all people, often together. So for us, it's not a problem. The aim is always to promote initiative that can involve local community in the process of social inclusion, which provides to exchange of ideas and expertise in design sectors. This is I smile because I try to explain you our name and meaning. Shiski is the pronounced in local language, so it's not an Italian word. That means scrabbles. You understand? Because is the first drawing you do when you have an idea. You need a little paper and a pencil to make a little scrabble that resume our idea, because you can forget this idea, so it's better to write on a paper. So in our space, we can experiment with the creation of design objects starting from a drawing on a paper. We are in the historical center of Trani, and because we try to be attractive also for the tourists. Our historical part of the city, and so we can be a new space in which they can find some particular objects that are linked to our tradition. This, for example, is our laboratory, in which we have a CNC pantographer that I explained you yesterday. We have also a little, not very little, 3D printer. No, it's not little, sorry. It's big. With which, with both, we try to do the first prototypes of the object that the designer have only like an idea. And after, when we have created the prototypes, we have near a space in which this new object, this new prototype can be exposed. So as I said before, the designer and the artisan, in this case with our laboratory and showroom, are only the first people that work with us, but we try to include all people it's possible. So because we trust in sharing of knowledges. In fact, periodically we organize meeting opportunities between experts in the design sector and art craft sector and simple people that can be only enthusiasts of this sector, this topic, to learn new technique and practice to create design object with these new technologies. So the workshops are the occasions when you can engage the public and are the best time for inclusion for local community in our activities, in our initiative. This is an example of one of the first workshop we do when we open this space, a workshop of auto construction in which we create all the furnishing for our showroom. So are self-made this and if I could remember the participant was were 10 or 12 people that we don't know, that we don't knew. But they had they need to have this kind of experiences and contact with other people to share knowledges and practice. These are other kind of workshop we have done with the use of different material and different on different topics. For example, this was on the work with the ceramic material, for example, to create some little tiles in ceramic, the pottery, yes, decorated by hand of the participant. Okay, as I say you before, people who wants to have this kind of experiences are the young people, child or old people. In this case, you can see an experience with the student of an high school. So they are 15, 16 years old, and they were interested to know this practice to create a new object with new technology. Maybe because manuality is however interesting for them. You can see here how they were enthusiastic of their job. In this case, they create some little print tools that were also gadgets for keys, for shoulder bags, and had the drawings about some particular decoration that they can find in their city. On the walls of the external walls of the houses or of the churches, and the workshop were done with a tour around the old city to recognize this particular decoration like typical of their city. And after they try to create a design object like a print tool to promote our territory, our land, our culture using a design object. This was the aim of that workshop. So, starting from the experiences and the abilities of each participant, different tasks were assigned to each one. And so each participant experiment all the processing phase with own hands, accompanied for each phase by a tutor who provides to give him instructions for an appropriate use of all the equipment, all the tools and machinery, because a correct use is important to not have dangerous situations. We very often, we always have during the workshops at the end of the workshop occasion and situation in which we meet us all together to share our impression, our what we have learned and what we can bring with our past experience to other people who is in the workshop, because we trust very lot in the exchanging of experiences and good practice. When we do a workshop, we try to allow each participant to have new theoretical knowledges, but we link always practical skills to expanding the their professional skill of each them. Which can be after applied in other experiences and sector. This is the way in which we try to create a network of people and knowledges and knowledges between us. After the workshop, very often participants can continue to experiment their topic, attending our space and using our machinery. In fact, very often we don't have time enough to explain all the process, design an object, verify if this object can be done, after start to create the object, but explaining all the process of the use of a machine. The workshop should be too long. Many days. So we try to have a short workshop in one day, in some cases two, but very often we have the participant that in the other days come back here to bring at hand their project and finish to create the object. And this is very interesting because in this way we create a direct link with local people that know us in the workshop, and after come back to us to share their experiences, their knowledges, their what they want. Sorry. In our space we have a CNC pantograph, a 3D printer to carry out work in wood and other material, as well as for the prototyping of small and medium design objects. These tools are made available to students, young designers, and in general to the local community where the association operates. In fact, our space is open not only with the workshops, but every day a designer on an enthusiast that have some idea to create can come here, explain his project, and we can, if we can, help him to create the object with our machinery. If he has just the knowledge of the use of this machinery, he can use it directly. If he needs a tutor, we are here for this aim. So, considering the positive results of the experiences, we plan to hold other workshops dedicated to dissemination of good practice and practical techniques for the processing wooden material. During the workshop, the positive and negative experiences of the participants are heard, and all the proposals for improvement suggested by workshop participants to make the process of involvement and inclusion of the local community in the project more effective. We organize also some little conferences and presentation about design, about handcraft work, or for example, photographer moment for show their photos, for example. Or installation, temporal installation of photo of or other kind of artistic work. Or also a seminar presentation dedicated to a particular topic linked to design. In fact, these are the other moments in which local people can be involved in our activities in the diffusion of the culture of design and craftsmanship, because these are moments of comparison of idea, moments of exchanging, of competition, and of past experiences, or to meet for transfer practice the technique and way to do some object or to work with some particular material, because if you can meet an expert in a presentation or in a seminar, you can have some new idea, new knowledge about a particular topics. This day I am very short. I hope I explain you in the best way our mission, our job, and our way to involve people and have the possibility to be known on cities in our local territory. Because in these 2 years we have met I think 30 different designer and artisan that now show their object, their products in our space. And is an opportunity for them and for us to bring out our culture. And I can say that is a good experience because we have the comparison with the tourists that come here from our land and they are very enthusiastic to enter in our space and find a little bit of our Puglia, of our land, with every one of the object shown. Okay, Laura.
Thank you, Giuseppa. So let's open the Q&A session. If someone has some question for you, we have around 10 minutes of questions, if we have any.
Yes, I'm here.
So I have one just to break the ice.
Go.
So how did you involve people that you didn't know, external people, to allow them to get closer to your space?
Okay, I understand. Consider that maybe I said this before. Very often when we organize a workshop or a meeting or a conference, we don't know people that can participate on these events. So we try to promote our activities using social media or bringing the word between friends or other kind of people like experts of the sector that has their following people, and very often after these events we become friends with these people because they come back. We have the opportunity to exchange our experiences. In this way, also the designer, when we start with this space, we knew maybe 5, 6, 7 different designers that can expose their object in our space. After periodically we promote a public call on the social media, on the web, or with paper on the walls to promote our space in which everyone can show his job and his what he can do. So we use this kind of method to bring people that we don't know in our space.
Thank you. So anyone else would like to ask something? As our colleague Maria was saying, if you feel uncomfortable using your microphone, you can write your question. There's no problem. So in the meantime, there's someone that's brave enough to ask you a question. I'll ask you one last one. So you said that, of course, you use different tools like social media, word of mouth, and it results also in some relationships that last, after the first contact. But did you find yourself in a situation where you had to teach to someone else something specific to your sector or what you do in your space? For example, yesterday Andrea was asking how much time you need to learn how to use a pantograph or CNC machine. So just more in general, because today we are talking about social inclusion, did you have any experience in teaching someone a bit more difficult or specific in your field to someone external, and how did you approach this challenge?
Oh yes, maybe I don't specify this aspect very well before. In some case, we call external expert when we don't have all the knowledge about a topic. When we can, when we have, if for example we are architects, when we have done some workshop or seminar linked to this topic, we are the tutor. For example, with the use of the pantograph, we are the tutor in that kind of workshop, and we are in the situation to explain to another people external that don't know nothing about this machinery, and is a process that need a little bit of time, because you have to transfer more information, very often are very technical information, and you have to do a gradual process, because you have to help him to be near to the machine, to understand how it works, and also after he can use it alone. In some case, when we work with children, we have to have another kind of attention, because you have to transform the work in a moment of play, to help them to understand what you are doing. So it's different. It linked to people that you have in case by case, and with old people is maybe more difficult than with children, because now children are born with the iPhone in their hand. So the digital information for them are more simple to use. To old people is very different, because they are they use an analogic way to transfer information, to take information, so it is not very simple with them.
Okay, thank you for your testimony.
Okay, I also have a question.
Oh, thank
Andrea, I'm waiting for you.
Well, I have more questions, but just some of them. Who is your typical user? Like who's coming like every day, or mainly who are the people who access your space usually, like a profile? And who do you think is more difficult to reach? What kind of public it's more difficult to reach? Okay, this is one question.
One by one.
Okay.
After you ask the second. So the people who enter in our space are they every day for the most part are tourists of other country. And this was the aim because we select to be in the historical part of the city, because we are near to the most important monument of the city, the cathedral, the castle. With these seeds, we can very fastly enter in contact with the tourists. Other kind of people are, for example, people who have a passion with design, and they can be amateurs or people who work in this sector. For example, other architects or other designer that wants to create an object. For example, the luminaire, the lamp that I showed you yesterday, it's not an our idea. We create that lamp here with our machinery, but the idea, the design is of another architect of Trani, of this city, that we knew some years ago. And after he entered in our space with the aim to became concrete his idea and create this object. Also, local people in these 2 years had learned to know us. So now, for example, in the particular time of the year, for example, much more in the summer or near to Christmas, they come here, for example, for their present. Okay. The second?
Thank you for the answer. And the second question was related to the presentation you did. You were saying that you organize workshop for youngsters as well.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you reach those youngsters? Only by social media and communication in the city, or also you're planning, for example, contacts with schools?
Yes, we have contact also with some teachers of schools, because now the schools have lots of activities that are made out of the hour of the lesson. So the teacher have the problem to write a program of the activities that students can be. And in some case, we are a solution for them, because can offer them this kind of activities, workshops, or other events that can interest them. Okay. We try to create a network between different subjects because we are architects, but there are many things and topics linked to handcraft work or designer that very specific that we don't know very well. So we try to create a network of people that in every single case can have the good knowledge about that specific topic. Okay?
Thank you very much, Giuseppe, for your contribution today also. So if there aren't any other questions, I would suggest to have 10 minutes break as we had yesterday. So when we come back, we can listen to Taina because today I think she's going to talk us about laser technique. Okay. So if you all agree, see you here in 10 at 12.
Okay.
Thank you again. See you later. So welcome back. Taina, when you're ready, I think we can start with your session.
Okay, so we'll start right away. Okay, so I guess you can't see that now, can you? Can you see it? Okay. So this is the first slide of my presentation. It's about laser techniques and laser machines for woodworking and our experience from the training in Finland. I have here a video, but it's 17 minutes long. So I think if we have time, we can watch it after this presentation. So it's a TEDx video about why digital making is important. But to our experience, Madu's experience in Tampere, so we have familiarized ourselves with different venues in Tampere and found that there are several possibilities to start learning and practicing digital woodworking. There are open days at the Tampere Fab Lab, which is part of Tampere Technical University. And then there is this community-based open space Hacklab, where you have a small fee, small monthly fee to enter the space whenever you wish. And then there is the Tekomo Makerspace, which is available in a public library. And there are others also. So, for example, several high schools in Tampere area have laser machines and CNC machines in the woodworking spaces or classrooms. And these are guided in different ways. For example, Fab Lab has very good instructions on their website. They have these instruction videos and guides how the laser cutter operates, manuals, safety warnings, and different learning material. Also video tutorials. Hacklab has also their courses, and there's also peer support for makers. And Makerspace has hired staff to teach you and guide you. So they are librarians specially trained for the Makerspace. Okay, more in detail about Fab Lab. Those open days are arranged once a month, and they are announced on their web page. And it's situated in the university campus in Hervanta. And our members visited the venue last year, and as anyone can, so it was an open day. And they have, as said, they have guides. So you don't need to know anything about the digital manufacturing, you can just enter and start checking the machines and ask for guidance, as we did. So they have in-house guidance. And it's also room for testing and learning for, of course, for students and researchers, but for anyone. And this is a picture of our member Elina Korri, who's a fashion designer and uses recycled denim fabric, and she was making these tests how to create a logo in the denim fabric. So this is you can pilot things before you get your own machine or start renting them or anything like that. So these are good possibilities to test. Also, wood is good material to test because it's thicker than, for example, denim. So I think wood is some kind of wood can act as a pathway to other materials. When you have learned how to use the machines with wood materials, then you can continue testing with the fabric and other materials. Okay, so then there's Hacklab. It's a community-based workshop, and they don't have any application system, so anyone can become a member. So you can check their machines online, what kind of machinery they have, and they have also these open courses where you can learn how to use these materials. And our trainees did that. So we had 2 trainees, one from Brazil, one from Hungary, and they were well received in this Hacklab community. So it's informal learning, unlike the Fab Lab, which is a university, so it's more formal learning. And they also have a large space, so it's a bigger space than Fab Lab, so you can produce larger pieces there and spend more time there than in the Fab Lab. Hacklab is also open during nighttime and during weekends. So what else did we learn? So we learned that there's a lot of free online resources if you want to learn digital design and modeling and production, like MOOC courses, different introductory courses to CAD and CAM and CNC and laser and so on. For example, Coursera and Udemy offer these courses. And there's free resources for software, for 3D printing, and graphic design, like Sketchbook, Tinkercad, Autodesk, Fusion, and Sketchfab. And if you wish to start business, there's an e-guide how to start digital laser machine business. So there's a lot of resources, learning resources online. Yes. Inkscape and Onshape. There's also software to handle the vector graphics. Okay, so here is a video I would like to show you. It's a shorter one. Let's see if I can. No, that's not that. Let's go back. Okay, so let me know if you can see this video now. It's a Modus logo in. Can you see that? No?
Actually, you need to stop sharing the PowerPoint and share the window with the video in order to be able to watch
yes,
it.
that's what I was asking, if you can see. Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see if. Is it this one? Okay, this is one video. I'm not quite sure if this is the right one, but anyway, I will show both of them. So let's. I think now you can see it.
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. Then we'll just take a look at this video. Okay, so that was the laser technique in short. As you saw, it's a different from the CNC technique. So it uses this laser ray. It doesn't have all these metal heads, different tools. So it uses only the ray that burns the material. So that's the difference between CNC and laser. One of the differences. Okay, so let's see if now you should see this one. Okay, let's go forward. The second experience of workshops was in Sampola, where the Tekomo Makerspace is, and there they have this smaller machine. So with for example, people with physical disabilities, a smaller sized laser machine can be a good possibility to start testing and start learning, because it's easy to move, and it's easy to adjust into different heights, and so, and it's also very affordable. So this piece of wood here, it's decorated with this machine. This machine costs about 160 euros. And this size of this piece is like a matchbox size. So this is very tiny. And let's take a look at the other video. No. Okay. New share. This one. Okay, I think now you can see it. Again, the Modus logo is in the front. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Let's hope this is another video than the former.
Now we have here the bigger laser machine connected with the computer. Compared to the bigger laser machines, this one is much smaller and lighter and more portable and mobile. It is also connected to a laptop. The smaller ones are more easy to adjust to the needs of the learner, so we can lift them up easily. It's light, and it can be put, for example, to different heights.
Okay, that was these two examples in short. So what we've found out in general about how to add inclusivity and accessibility in digital woodworking, there were several points of interest that you can look into: technology, software, materials, and space. So, as we said, the technology has become more varied. There are these smaller, easily usable and cheaper machines, and these ones can provide possibilities for training because they are, for example, for people with physical disabilities, they are accessible into any place and height. And then there is this free software available for online learners, which is so they are economically accessible. And you can use, for example, free recycled wood material for piloting and training with the machines without no cost of materials. And then there are these affordable spaces for training, Fab Labs, Hacklabs, maker spaces, etc. Yes, this was my presentation, and do we have time to shall we take a look at the video? It's 17 minutes. Okay? Yeah, okay, let's see that one. New share.
Taina, I think you need to share the audio, the sound from your computer with us. Otherwise, we will not be able to listen to the video. Need to go to settings.
Okay. Maybe I'll just share the link of the YouTube video, so you can. It's in the chat box. So let's take a look at it.
Taina, but we are recording.
Okay. Well, if I put the record, if I put the video here, but you can just see it from the link. So here it can be without sound, and you can check it from the link. Is that okay?
scale following the learning nature of not as offer instead of before I thought I'd have something about everything. So at high school, I wrote electronics class. It's a wonderful practical resource. You've got to make things, you've got to take things off the ground and work. When things up, you get into trouble. And when I look back now, I realise it's everything out. And I remember one day, parents challenged us to figure out why a transistor is. After some experimentation, I suggested replacing the capacitor charge, and it worked. And up until then, radio essentially was magical. Plastic obviously turned on. That moment, I got it. They essentially understood that it was made by me. And I was and I was able to. And I remember that was 1987. The UK was already. But I didn't want to remember electronics class. I don't remember. First, my friend that's a ZX Spectrum. So it's going to cost about 125 pounds. Market, content, that was a fun weekend. But I'm stuck on the cat. Those that you recognise will know most of that times learn sense. We didn't just play games, we also write hundreds of lines of language. Just like in this character's response plans, I remember the sense of control, the sense of power. I was given this key instruction with the name of you didn't just copy out and change it. Most of the time, artists work about problems. Then we got to I love it. And I realized at the time started everything like none of that. It wasn't just it. And
Laura, we could again try maybe to either share the video again or move on to the next activity and let the participants watch the video on their own time.
We were watching the video on YouTube. So, Tina, do you need to go forward with your presentation? Do you have anything else to add in terms of laser technique? You still have 10 minutes in your session. Tina? As I said in another occasion, are you with us? Okay, maybe we, as Maria suggested from Esmovia, we can And I don't have anything else. So maybe we can share the video. We can watch the video in the remaining 10 minutes and then we can proceed with the questions, unless you don't have any questions. So we can answer the questions right now. Do you have anything we would like to ask to Tina for her presentation?
Okay. So you can look at the video later if you wish to finish that one. Can you hear me now? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Tina.
Okay, great.
Worked, we would blow things up and we wouldn't get into trouble. And when I look back now, I realize it's everything I ever wanted from an education. And I remember one day, Mr. Carrington, our teacher, challenged us to figure out why a transistor radio had stopped working. And after some experimentation, I suggested replacing a capacitor, that's a component that stores a small amount of electrical charge. And it worked. And up until then, radio had essentially been this magical thing to me. It was a plastic box that you turned on and music came out. And in that moment, I realized, I think for the first time, that it obeyed a set of rules that could be understood and that it was made by people. And I was people too. And I was 14 and I remember feeling powerful. That was 1987 and the UK was already in the grips of the computing revolution. But while I remember electronics class at school, I don't remember using computers at school. My first memory of computers was at my friend Gary's house. Gary had one of these. That's a ZX Spectrum computer. So at the time, it would have cost about £125. It was the most affordable home computer on the market, but it was utterly unaffordable to me on my pocket money. But that was okay, because I knew Gary and he lived up the road. And so I would scuttle off to Gary's house and we'd sit in his bedroom and spend tens, if not hundreds of hours playing computer games. Those of you who recognize it will know that most of that time was spent waiting for the games to load from the cassettes that they used to come on. But we didn't just play games, we would also write hundreds of lines of code out of magazines and books and create our own games. And just like in Mr. Carrington's electronics class, I remember feeling a sense of control, a sense of power. I was giving this machine instructions, and things would more or less predictably happen on the screen as a result. And we didn't just copy out what we saw in the magazine. We would make changes. We'd create something original. Most of the time, what we would create would be bugs that stopped our games from working, but they were our bugs and we loved them. And there in Gary's bedroom, I learned that computer games aren't conjured by tiny wizards that live inside plastic boxes. They're made by people, people like me and people like Gary. Now, after school, I went to college to study business and finance, and then went to law school and started a career that honestly had very little to do with electronics or programming. And I didn't think about Mr. Carrington's electronics class or Gary's ZX Spectrum computer again until I started a family. That's Dylan and Bethan, my kids. I love being a dad, and one of the things that I've enjoyed most about it has been seeing the world afresh through their eyes. And I realized that in the time between leaving school and starting a family, everything had been transformed by computers. So just think about it for a moment. The World Wide Web, email, smartphones, apps, none of that had existed when I was in school. And it wasn't just that everything had changed, it was that everything was still changing, and the pace of that change felt like it was accelerating all the time, thanks to innovations in fields like artificial intelligence, robotics, or the Internet of Things. I knew all that. I was reading about it. I was thinking about it in the context of my work. But having kids gave me a new perspective. I started wondering what it would be like for my kids growing up in a world where these advanced technologies are so pervasive. If transistor radios and basic computer games could seem magical to kids like me and Gary, how would these much more sophisticated technologies be experienced by kids like Dylan and Bethan? And so I started asking, what's the modern equivalent of Mr. Carrington's electronics class or Gary's ZX Spectrum computer? And that question turned out to have a profound impact on my life. It led me to find a new purpose in life, to help young people learn how to create with technology. It led to me changing my career, so I now lead a non-profit organization that works with teachers and volunteers all over the world to help millions of people learn these skills. And it also introduced me to a new community, a community of people who share that passion for creating with technology. And I want to introduce 4 of the young people I've met over the past few years to you now. This is Avon. She's 13, and she lives on the west coast of Ireland. And that's her mum, Iseult, who also happens to be one of Avon's teachers. Avon's journey with technology started about 5 years ago when she wanted to build a website as part of a farm safety project at school. And there were 2 problems with this. Firstly, they didn't teach you how to build websites as part of the curriculum. And secondly, living in a rural part of the country, she didn't have access to the internet. That didn't stop her mum. She got herself on some teacher training, and she set up a Coder Dojo for kids in the local area. Coder Dojos are free computing clubs run by volunteers. They started in Ireland back in 2011, and they've grown to be a global phenomenon, helping hundreds of thousands of young people create with technology. So Avon joins the Coder Dojo, which meets once a week in the school building, which does have the internet. And she makes her website, but she doesn't stop there. She goes on to make all kinds of cool projects. This is the Hospital Holly and Henry doll, designed to help children overcome their fear of hospital. And the inspiration was Avon's friend that has a long-term health condition that means she has to go to hospital regularly. And it's a simple idea. So the dolls have some electronics in them, and they're connected to a computer that has a program that Avon's put some information into. So when you touch part of the doll, it completes a circuit, and that calls up information on the screen. So you might touch it here, where blood tests are taken, and the screen would give you some information about needles and blood tests. When you talk to Avon, you realize that there's a lot more than programming going on here. So while her friend inspired her, she surveyed 500 children to understand their experience of hospital, and that's where she got the insight that most anxiety was actually caused by a lack of information. She's developed, tested, and iterated the project using different hardware and software, each time trying to figure out how to solve problems she was encountering. And when she discovered that she didn't have enough time in the hour a week at Coder Dojo to complete the project, she figured out that if she sat in the car park of the local supermarket, she could use the Wi-Fi that's offered to customers at a cafe to finish it off. So right there, you've got user research, prototyping, and problem solving. These kids learn a lot more than programming. That's Freddie and his mum, Sarah. They live in South Wales, And Freddie's journey with computing started when he entered a poster competition to win one of the first Raspberry Pi computers. Now, Raspberry Pi is a $35 computer designed for education, but now used in industry as much as it is in schools. And let me give you a bit of context. In today's money, a Raspberry Pi will cost you about 1/10 of what Gary paid for his ZX computer, but it's 200,000 times more powerful. So Freddie gets this powerful programmable computer. The problem is he doesn't know what to do with it. And luckily for him, a guy called James, who's a computer science lecturer in a local university, set up a code club in Freddie's school. Now, Code Club is an after-school computing club for kids. And like Coder Dojo, it started small in England this time in 2012 and has grown to become a global phenomenon. Code Club is now in 150 countries around the world, run by volunteers like James and like Sarah, Freddie's mum, who also volunteered. It opens his eyes to this incredible world of technology, and pretty soon he starts asking how can he solve problems using this technology. And this is one of Freddie's projects, the facial recognition door entry system that he made for his great aunt Pat. So Freddie was concerned that his elderly aunt might let people in her house that she didn't know. So he connected his Raspberry Pi to a camera and some sensors, and if you ring the doorbell, it takes a photograph, and it checks that against a facial recognition program that Freddie's trained with photographs of friends, family, neighbors, trusted people. And if there's a match, the door opens, and Freddie's mum gets a text message to tell her who's visiting Great Aunt Pat. And when I caught up with Freddie recently, he told me he'd developed the project further with temperature and other sensors so the family could monitor whether Great Aunt Pat was safe and warm. So when you hear technologists talk about the Internet of Things, this is what they mean. Smart sensors and cameras connected to computers running clever algorithms that solve everyday problems for people. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Freddie is 14 years old. This is Ardesh. He's also 14, and he lives in San Jose in California. Ardesh's journey with technology started when he was 9, and he started attending a makerspace with his big brother. Now, makerspace is a community venues where you can get access to the tools and technologies to create things. So you'll find 3D printers, laser cutters, woodworking and metalworking tools. But they're also communities of learning. So the people in the makerspaces have loads of expertise that they share through lectures and workshops and helping each other out. So Ardesh starts going along to the makerspace with his big brother in the evenings and weekends and attending these lectures and workshops. And like Freddie, his eyes are open to this incredible world of technology, and he also wants to solve problems. But the problems that he cares about are water, or rather the lack of it. You see, his mum's a keen gardener, and they live in California, and because of climate change, they're suffering really severe droughts. And the local authority has started using fines as a way of changing people's behavior. And the final straw for Ardesh was a day that he said his neighbor was using a sprinkler in the garden when it was raining and he got a fine. So he decided to make an automatic sprinkler system. So he used some humidity sensors, some moisture sensors in the ground and connected them to local weather data and forecasts. And then if the right conditions are met, the Raspberry Pi switches on the sprinkler and his mum's garden gets some water. What's even smarter is he connected it to the local authority's website so it wouldn't use a sprinkler on a day when you could get a fine. And because he didn't want to rebuild the system for every one of his neighbors, he connected it to social media. So if you live near Ardesh, you will get a tweet or a Facebook message in the mornings telling you it's a good day to water your lawn. The net effect is a huge reduction in water consumption, thousands of dollars of fines avoided, and greener gardens for everyone. And when I asked Ardesh what he learned from the project, he told me the importance of community and reciprocity, getting involved and giving something back. But it wasn't his neighbors he was thinking of. It was the community he met at the makerspace where he found a mentor, and online where he found programmers who shared code and helped him solve his problems. He's now delivering workshops at the makerspace himself. And last but by no means least, this is Laura. Laura comes from Timișoara in Romania. And she started with computing when she was 11, and a maths teacher in her school set up a computing club at lunchtime. They didn't study computing in the curriculum, but the teacher knew it was important, so he set up the club so they would learn how to build websites. And pretty soon, Laura found a Coder Dojo in her village, and she started attending once a month on Saturdays, and that's where she discovered robotics. Now, I first met Laura a couple of years ago when she was showcasing a mind-controlled robot that she had hacked together with an EEG brain sensor. It was a prototype for what she hoped would become a mind-controlled wheelchair that would help paralyzed people be able to move. And that's me testing the project. She said to me that it worked much better for me because my lack of hair meant that the sensors got a better reading from my brain signals. But it worked, right? Within just a few minutes, I've been able to train this robot to go forward, backward, left and right just by thinking. And I caught up with Laura again earlier this year, and she'd been working this time with a group of friends on an autonomous waste recycling project, a robot. Their idea was to combine robotics and machine learning software to create a robot that would solve the problem of litter in their community whilst also increasing recycling. Now, I can't emphasize how ambitious a project this is. Just building a robot that can navigate an urban environment is incredibly challenging. And this one has to do it autonomously, and then it has to be able to find, categorize, and sort the waste that it finds. That's the part of the project Laura worked on. Using a neural network and machine learning software, she was training it to sort the recycling waste that it found. And she told me how she personally had to categorize 3,000 images of recyclable waste to train the neural network. So just think about that a moment. Plastic bottle, newspaper, cardboard, 3,000 times. Two things strike me about Laura's work. Firstly, progression. So from building websites in a lunchtime club to advanced robotics and machine learning projects in just a few short years. It's an incredible journey. And second, teamwork. So when I asked Laura what she learned from this project, she told me the importance of working in a team. In her own words, it was pretty challenging, but really necessary to do a project on this scale. I'm sure we can all relate to that. So, Avon, Freddie, Ardesh, and Laura. Just 4 out of hundreds and hundreds of remarkable young people that I've had the privilege to meet over the past few years. And they're brilliant, they're obviously brilliant. But the thing is, they're no more or less remarkable than any other young person that you might come across. What sets them apart is that they've had opportunities to discover a passion for digital making. And they've had parents and teachers and mentors who've nurtured that passion and helped them develop their skills. And some of those adults have brought technical skills, and others of those adults have developed their own skills alongside the young people. And they have studied some computing at school, but even more important has been the opportunities they've had to join communities of learning in code clubs, coder dojos, makerspaces, and online. What I think is most remarkable about their stories is that those kind of opportunities are still so rare. Arthur C. Clarke said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I think if we're going to realize the potential of the digital revolution, we all have a responsibility to make sure that every young person, wherever they're from and whatever their background, has opportunities to discover that digital technologies aren't magical, and they too can be part of the next generation of digital makers. Thank you.
So thank you, Taina, for sharing this video with us. It was very interesting. So if you don't have anything else to add, just to close your session, I would ask once again if someone has some questions to do, and then I will, please. Will you say something?
Yeah, just to summarize this video, there's a new word for me, coder dojo. So that's something that we learned too. So new, like a tribe language. There's, I think there's a tribe language among young people too in this one. But what is important for me, it's like the excitement of using technology, so it can increase young people's interest into crafts. and using different materials. So it nurtures imagination. And the other thing is that it gives an environment of learning. So it's supporting learning also. So that's these were these important things in this video, in my opinion. Okay, so that was my part. Thank you.
Thank you. Because we have 10 minutes left, I would share with you the link for the evaluation of this session. You will find one more question, which is please leave your feedback on this session. It will be very important for us to have your feedback to understand what can be improved for the next session, what needs to be changed, or what was fine so it can be repeated. So I leave you, I share the link with you, so you can complete it now. And let me know once you've finished. No. Sorry, was the wrong one. No. Okay. Okay, this should work. Okay, so it seems like everyone completed the questionnaire. Thank you for your participation also today. See you tomorrow for the last day of this week, because then we will resume the training after tomorrow, the following weeks. And we will talk about more woodworking techniques and social inclusion with our Slovenian partner tomorrow. So we are looking forward to see you again, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.